So when I was a boy, I was absolutely besotted with ducks and geese. I lived and breathed ducks and geese. I first went to the Waterfowl Festival as a young boy in 1972. I saw Granger McCoy's spectacular sculpture in the lobby of the Tidewater Inn, and my jaw dropped open. But I also became a fan of the Waterfowl Festival. And a few years later, I was invited at the last moment to fill a vacant spot, and I brought my wood carvings of ducks to the Waterfowl Festival, exhibited in the Armory building, and with thousands of people filing past, I even had a few people who liked what I had done, and that was encouraging. Since that time, I've branched out into many different things. I sculpt people, I sculpt African animals. I've spent a lot of time in Africa. I've spent time in the Arctic. I've spent time all over the world sculpting from life, but in a much looser style than what I started with. In the style that I currently use, coming back to waterfowl has been fun. I've enjoyed bringing my focus back to the Eastern Shore, which is where it all began for me. Today, my sculpture of Family Affairs stands in front of the Armory building, which is a wonderful thing. It means a great deal to me. And I am happy to be involved with the Waterfowl Festival yet again. So Wind and Waves is a concept of geese taking off from the water, getting airborne, but how to deal with water. Water is problematic because it lays in a sheet, and if you want to do anything with it sculpturally, a big sheet, this horizontal sheet, does not lend itself to sculpture very well. So in thinking about it, I was actually parked by a pond watching geese landing and taking off, thinking about what I might do for the festival. And it occurred to me, well, I just want the water. How about if we just have water? The shoreline can be gone. I don't have to sculpt the land underneath the water. I can just sculpt the surface of the water with the geese taking off into the air. So this is wind and waves, and there's no shoreline. I've taken it out. So in this sculpture, it is like a cross-section through the water. So you have a narrow column of water going into the shore. There are 3 canvasback ducks that are just getting out into the water, and a pair of geese taking off. And if 2 birds define the Eastern Shore, amongst waterfowl, it would definitely be canvasbacks and Canada geese. So once the work is done here in the studio or out in the field, I have a clay done in the studio or a wax made in the field. But it's not permanent. Now it needs to be cast in bronze. For that, I take it to a founder.
My name is David Turner, and we're here in the gallery at Turner Sculpture here on the Eastern Shore near the town of Only, Virginia. It's on the southern tip of the Delmarva Peninsula, about just over 2 hours south of Easton, Maryland. But the Waterfowl Festival, and for wildlife artists, you would have heard about that. And back in the 80s, there weren't a lot of wildlife art shows, and so we got involved. My dad and I would show up there, show our works since the mid-80s. The process that all the bronze castings that you'll see at the Waterfowl Festival, and Bart's included in mine, it's a lost wax method of bronze casting. And it starts with a clay model, or a model of some sort that eventually, once the clay model is complete, you make a rubber mold around the clay model. And then once the rubber mold is complete, you peel away the rubber from the clay, and then that rubber will have the imprint of whatever is in the clay. Even a fingerprint will be in that rubber. And then you can reuse the clay for something else. Then we take that rubber mold and it has a plaster backing or support for the rubber, since the rubber is very flexible. We take that rubber mold with that void in it where the clay once was, we take that into our wax room. And in our wax room, we pour wax into the space where the clay model once was. And the wax is about 225, 230 degrees. And then while it's still liquid inside, it hadn't solidified yet in the middle of it, we'll pour the center back out, and that way we get a hollow wax casting. And then we let that cool, then we take away the plaster, then we peel away the rubber from the wax casting. Next thing we do is work on the wax casting. It's called wax chasing. So that's correcting any imperfections in the wax casting to make it look as close to the clay model as possible. So then we take that wax casting with this sprue system and we dip it in the ceramic liquid. And that we have to build up layer after layer of ceramic around the wax casting. And that, for a hollow wax casting, that ceramic mold goes inside as well as outside. So once that gets like a 1/4 inch thickness of ceramic around the wax, the next thing we do is we take that wax casting with the ceramic around it, and this is the lost wax part of the process. We put it in the furnace, and that does two things. It evacuates the wax, and it hardens that ceramic mold. So now you have the ceramic mold with a void where the wax once was, and that's the lost wax part of the process. So on another day, we'll come back and take those ceramic molds that have had the wax melted out of them, and we'll put them in a furnace and preheat them to 1400 degrees. And then we'll have another furnace with a crucible in it that will hold about 130 pounds of bronze. And we heat the bronze. When the bronze gets 2000 degrees, approximately 2000 degrees, we pull the preheated ceramic mold, we pull that furnace open and pour the molten bronze at 2000 degrees into the space where the wax once was, into the preheated ceramic mold. And then we let that cool. And then after about a half hour or so, we can hammer that ceramic off, and we have the bronze casting inside. So we've lost the wax casting. It's that lost wax process. We also have lost that ceramic mold as well. Then we take all those different parts and sandblast what ceramic material doesn't come off when we hammer it off. We sandblast it, that cleans the surface. And then we bring it to our metal shops where we weld all the different parts together, blend in the seams with air-driven grinding tools, and make it look like feather or fur or scales of a fish. What we'll do next is apply the patina, which is a chemical reaction with the surface of the metal. So we heat it with a torch and apply different chemicals to the surface. Different chemicals at different temperatures will give you different colors. And once the patina is complete, then we seal it with a wax sealant or a lacquer sealant if it's a bigger piece that's going outside. And then we put wax on top of that, and then the piece is ready to go in the gallery or take to the Waterfowl Festival.
What comes out is amazing because it is a permanent record of what I saw and what I made. You can literally see the passage of my thumbs. You can see the passage of my palm on the water of the large version, the signature version of the Wind and Waves. That's an amazing thing. To be able to see that, just like you would record, you would see a brushstroke on a painting with heavy paint. You can see the passage of my palm, the passage of my thumbs, and it's there. It's there for posterity. Bronzes will last for hundreds and hundreds of years. Your grandchildren's grandchildren will be able to see not only what I did, but what you acquired or what you saw when you were at the Waterfowl Festival. With Wind and Waves, I wanted to create something that was both artistic and celebrated the festival's roots, waterfowl and waterfowling. So my goal was that for that sculpture is that people love it. I hope they enjoy it. I hope when they look at Wind and Waves, they see a bit of the Waterfowl Festival experience and they see a bit of the Eastern Shore experience. In that role, it has the ability to capture people's imaginations. Some people will never venture out onto a marsh. Actually, most people who are not duck hunters probably will never venture out onto a marsh. But if they see a sculpture like this, or they see a painting that captures marshlands and the creatures they inhabit, the tidal wetlands, it can inspire them to want to keep those wetlands. And I think that can play a vital role. In that role, art has validity. And some sculptures, like the family affair sculpture in front of the armory, they take on a life of their own. In people's minds, they become a symbol of themselves, of each of you. And when that tradition is passed down through generations, as going to the Waterfowl Festival is for many patrons, that's a special gift to me to see that happen. And now it's the 50th anniversary and I've been called on again, and I am very pleased to be called on. It is an honor to be associated with an organization that's done so much for conservation and that has warmed the hearts of so many people over so many years.